So if you own your own business that's set up under the legal structure of a sole proprietorship, how do you actually shut that business down if you want to discontinue it? Well, in today's video, I'm going to talk about that. But before you even decide to shut it down, consider if it's worth selling. In certain cases, it doesn't make sense to sell or there's no value there. But in other situations, people will shut down businesses that could be sold. So if that is the case, that someone else could take over your business and there's some value in it, I would recommend considering that. But if you have decided to shut down the business, how do you actually do that properly? Well, there are a number of things that you need to do. None of them are necessarily difficult, but still important to do. So some of the main things would be canceling the business name registration. So as a sole proprietorship, you're not a corporation, you're not a separate legal entity, so you're not like dissolving yourself, you're not canceling yourself as a human individual, but you do want to cancel or unregister your business name or trade name with your corporate registry or business registry in your region. Now, after that, you probably have a municipal business license and you'll either want to cancel that or just not renew it. In some cases, maybe you can cancel it and get a refund. In other cases, if you can't get a refund, then just don't renew it for the next year. And even if you can't get a refund, sometimes the municipality in which you're operating in will still want you to cancel it if you're not actively operating that business anymore. Another important thing to do would be take down social media accounts, Google business profile, website, and if you're on any business databases, you'll probably want to remove yourself from there just so people aren't finding you and trying to contact you when you're not in business anymore. The next thing would be finish up with sales tax accounts, remit your sales tax that you've collected, and then close those sales tax accounts, whether that's federal and provincial or just federal or just provincial or even state, depending on where you're located. Just make sure that those are not only closed, but that you've paid out what you need to pay out with them. Some other things would just be to make sure you've paid off any debt or amounts outstanding, whether that's to suppliers or vendors or even to employees if you have employees. And then after that, you can start to shut down things like a payroll account if you have one and a workers' compensation account if you have one. Some other things to shut down or close would be a business bank account if you have one. And now obviously this will not be one of the first steps. You'll want to wait until you've paid off those debts and paid your employees and things like that before you close that down. But once you're basically done with transactions, then it would probably make sense to close that business bank account. Another thing you probably want to do is cancel any subscriptions you have for the business. Maybe you have some type of software subscription for bookkeeping or with your website or with like appointment booking software or design software like Canva. If you're not going to be using that anymore because you're really only using it for business, then you want to cancel those subscriptions. Next, you'll want to cancel your insurance policy if you can, especially if you're not going to be needing it anymore. And then if you are leasing a facility for your business, you want to make sure that you're not breaking that lease, or if you are breaking it, that you're finding some way to, remediate it and, not be stuck in a lease for another 4 years having to pay monthly rent. So maybe that's finding a new tenant or negotiating with the landlord. So you want to make sure that you fulfill that contract as much as you can and whatever other contracts you have as well. It's not good to break contracts and there can be penalties and repercussions for breaking contracts. Now, those are the main things. And of course, every business is different. Every situation is different. So, your list might look quite different from someone else's. But one last thing that you might want to do depending on the business is sell off any supplies or equipment. So for example, if you have a restaurant that you're closing or a construction company and you have some valuable equipment or supplies that you're not going to be using anymore, those might be valuable to someone else who's still in that industry. So rather than just, hold on to them when you're not going to use them or throw them out or whatever, if they have some monetary value, then sell them. So hopefully this was a useful video on how to close or shut down your sole proprietorship business. And if you got any value from the video, please click like and subscribe to my YouTube channel here, where I currently have about 250 videos that cover business management and business startup topics.